Hello, everyone. Today, Shagil and I are going to talk about cybersecurity and how AI solutions can be implemented in cybersecurity. So let's start. So briefly, I'm going to tell you what we are going to go through. We're going to go through an obvious introduction, this cyber threats that we'll be talking about in particular, and the solutions that can be implemented with AI. The advantages of AI and some of the use cases. We'll be talking about AWS solutions that are offered for AI implementation and companies like Wells Fargo and Splunk and how they have implemented AI for cybersecurity. So, as we know, as the world is developing and the digital transformation that has come into picture, there have been vulnerabilities also that have been increased with time. There's lots of ways of attacking the system. There are new ways of attacking the system, and some human-driven systems and human-driven methodologies are no more applicable to deal with those systems. However, with AI, how intelligent it is able to deal with such threats. And the most important thing, it's scalable and can be implemented on a much bigger scale when compared to human systems. So let's talk now about cyber threats. So in particular, we're going to talk about these cyber threats. So starting with user authentication. So when I'm talking about user authentication, I'm talking about how illegal users can access the system with valid credentials. And since they're using valid credentials, they're given access to the system, and then they can access the data and the network and compromise the data and obviously cause obvious harm to the files and any other kind of documentation or sensitive data. The next is data leak. So when I'm talking about data leak, there is time when some of the time as and the university, instead of using university network, I'm accessing confidential information on my personal network. So that makes data loss appear at a much higher level because I might use data on an unauthorized system or on a publicly accessed system. So it gives a higher chance to data leak, and there's a higher chance of data loss. And the current systems I'll be talking about later is that use text matching method. So they use a database that can map against the current access on the system against the databases of text matching, and however they do not prove to be more very efficient. The next would be phishing attack. Phishing attack is a very common attack when I guess over here, whoever is listening to this presentation everyone has encountered this, is when they receive fake emails with fake links or fake messages, and they appear to be true, but they aren't. However, the system is unable, and even humans, we as users and readers are unable to classify it as true or false, and that's where we misclassify and we click on the links, and that leads to data loss and data breach again. The last is intrusion. Intrusion happens when an illegal user, so this intrusion detection and prevention is separate from user authentication. So user authentication is when illegal users are using valid credentials. However, intrusion is when they are just into the system, into the network, and they're trying to access the data and trying to steal the data. So that is categorized as malicious traffic. And the classic methods, or I must say the earlier methods that used to deal with this, is signature matching method. Those malicious traffic is matched against a database of this malicious traffic and identified as true or false. So the solutions that can be implemented with AI is user authentication is machine learning, or otherwise known as ML models, neural networks. For data loss, it's natural NLP processing, and that is based on multiple data sets. For phishing attacks, it's uh, LTST, long-term, short-term memory models, and convolutional neural networks, while malicious traffic can be dealt with decision trees, support vector machines, and k-means clustering. So let's talk about user authentication now. A user authentication can be dealt with machine learning algorithms. So when I'm talking about machine learning algorithms, I'm talking about how these algorithms are can be supervised, unsupervised, or reinforcement learning models, and use to analyze authentic user authentication data and to form a pattern on this data, and based on that pattern detect anomalies and fraudulent activities. So this pattern can be based on maybe the user's IP addresses, their location, or the login times and dates. The next would be deep learning techniques. Deep learning techniques are used to extract features from user data and then form patterns across it, and use that patterns to recognize which is an authentic user, and while someone else using the same valid credentials is an unauthentic user. So technically it directly improves the accuracy of user authentication. Finally, then it is data loss prevention. Like I said earlier, data loss prevention is actually not an old technique, a current technique, but that does not use AI methods. However, the latest DLP system that can be used, when I say DLP, I mean data loss prevention system that can be used, is using natural language processing and user and entity behavior analytics and anomaly detection. So NLP is used basically a continuous learning capability. So it's fed with three kinds of data sets: one with sensitive information, one with discard, not general information, not really important, and the other one is relationships, about semantic relationships. So based on this, NLP is able to train itself to become a logical model and try to differentiate between sensitive and general data. And then it also categorizes the data in terms of its sensitivity levels. User and entity behavior is categorized as it is basically a model that is able to utilize and detect user behavior and detect an abnormal activity on the network and malicious behavior and categorize it accordingly. While finally, to detect anomalies is it creates anomaly detection is basically it creates a baseline of user behavior, and any deviations from it is categorized as a security threat, and is able to classify data on is based on its sensitivity level.
I would like to explain about the phishing attack. As all aware of the phishing attack, it happens from the fraudulent emails or from the fake website, and it just designed to trick the users. It downloads a malware and shares a sensitive information or personal information. And I would like to explain about the traditional approach, how currently it's being handled without AI support. So we have the blacklist and the whitelist approach. This method produces a quick result, but this has got a low detection efficiency. So that is the drawback with the approach one, using the blacklist and the whitelist approach. Now I will talk about the approach two, that is the heuristic detection techniques. Here the information is gathered from the a number of web pages, and especially this information is coming from the external source. We can say that it's a third-party information. They collect this information from the site ranking and the network traffic to the websites. So there is a dependency with the third-party services. Whenever there is a delay from the third-party services, our detection goes wrong. So this is again not the effective way of handling the phishing attack. Now the third approach, let's put the AI model and see how we can improve from there. Now we will apply this CNN model and to detect the phishing attack. Now, as we all aware of the various steps for the training the AI model, here we are doing the same thing. So we pre-process the data and we collect the feature importance, specific features to detect the anomalies and the phishing attack. Then we train the CNN models. So it undergoes training with the selected features. Finally, the result comes like identifying whether a given URL is a phishing or legitimate. This is how we are using the CNN model. Now, we can also use the other model, that is LSTM, along short-term memory. Here, whenever there is a user is trying to access any URL from the email or from the website, it goes to the phishing system, then it returns to the browser. If it is an authentic URL, it will be returned to the browser. So this is how we are using the LSTM models. And the next session, I would like to talk about intrusion detection and prevention system. So we can call it as an IDPS. So this generally monitors the network traffic or network threat and take the appropriate action. So there are various AI models used under the IDPS. If I name it, it's I can say talk about the decision trees, random forest, SVM models, and various other neural networks. So some specific models detects the binary classes. So basically, this gives the result of whether the link is the detection is normal or the malicious. Then we have the multi-classes. This identifies various types of attacks. It's more effective compared to the binary class. Then further more details into the models, how we can use the supervised learning models and the unsupervised learning model. So in supervised learning models, we have the decision trees, we have the SMV, support vector machine, SVM models that is trained based on the labeled data. Then it classifies the activities. And unsupervised learning models, we have the k-means clustering, which detects the anomalies by identifying the clusters of similar information logs. Now I want to move to the next session, that is cybersecurity advantages with AI. So the first part is the threat detection and the response. Now we all know that AI-driven solution which analyzes the large data set and it's pinpoint the particular pattern that detects the various type of malicious activities, including the zero-day attacks. So this is how we can say that AI can be used for threat detection and the fast response. And the next point, efficiency and the accuracy. So again, AI model can be inspect various number of devices. We can say hundreds and thousands of devices it can scan and detects or detects various kind of patterns. So it is more efficient and accurate based on human activities. Now the third point is cost effectiveness and the scalability. Now AI models are capable of scanning massive amount of data, which enables fast threat detection and it reduces the response time to security instance which is reporting, and that's minimize the expense of having n number of or many number of resources deployed only for monitoring the security incidents, so which can be effectively handled by the AI models. Now we will move to the next session. Here we'll talk about the use cases. So the first part, I just want to mention like how Amazon AWS services are using the AI-powered services. Now, the first service, one of the service which AWS uses, that is the guard duty, which monitors the data integrity by analyzing the various amount of data which is coming from the cloud trail and the DNS logs. Then it detects the anomalies, and sometimes it detects the spikes onto the API calls, whether it is a normal or irregular. It also detects the network pattern, indicating the potential risk associated with the network patterns. And AWS has another service, that AWS Inspector, that constantly identifies and rectifies security vulnerabilities within AWS configuration. And AWS has one more service, that is AWS Messi. It leverages the machine learning to automatically detect and categorize the sensitive data breaches. Now, I will talk about the Wells Fargo, that is one of the US-based company, how they are using the AI models to detect the malicious activity. Now, Here they are using the machine learning algorithm to quickly process vast volume of data, including the network activities, emails, and documents. It continuously examines the data and identifies the patterns and anomalies that could potentially act as a cyber attack, so cyber threat. So this is how they use the AI and machine learning models. And the next one, it's Splunk. Again, it's one of the US-based software company. So they specifically use a model called UABA, that is User Entity Behavior Analytics. So this will be monitoring the devices and the user behaviors to detect the unusual activity and identifying the new threats before they can cause the damage to the organization. Next, we can move to the conclusion part.
So that being said, I guess we have covered how AI can be an effective solution in cybersecurity. Although this presentation has addressed only 4 cyber threats, during our research, we've come across a number of cyber threats that have been addressed by AI solutions effectively. However, due to the time limitations, we could just talk about 4. So I hope we have provided you enough information about AI and its advantages in cybersecurity, and hope you liked it. Thank you.